friends, this is Hedda. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my first video of 2023. I know that we're all excited about all the new things in 2023, but before I jump into new projects, new notebooks, all of that, there are two videos missing from my channel from 2022, and those two videos are my reading journal updates for November and for December. So today I'm going to take you through all of the books that I read in November and December, the spreads that I made in my reading journal, all of that. We're just combining those two videos into one. My next reading journal video will feature my brand new reading journal, so sadly this is the very last video where I'll be using this one. This has been my reading journal for the past 14 months and it's kind of sad to leave it behind, but that's just how it is. Before I get into all of the books I read in November and December though, a big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I've really enjoyed being able to explore classes on Skillshare for the past few months of 2022 and I'm really excited to be working with them again this year. The beginning of a new year is the perfect time to just sit down and reflect on your goals and your interests, what you want to do in the new year. And with Skillshare, it's so easy and convenient to explore and develop new skills. Personally, I am jumping straight into this class about productivity and time management because that is one of the things that I am continuously working on as I kind of develop my online presence, my creative job, all of that. Being your own boss comes with a lot of perks, but also a lot of challenges. Skillshare has an exclusive offer this month where you can try Skillshare for free for 7 days and then you get 20% off your first year. This is a great way to commit to a transformative year, a creative year, and I can definitely recommend checking out Skillshare. Check out the link in the description box to unlock this offer. And now let's get into the books that I read in November and December. The very first book I read in November was Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I actually started reading this one in October because that's when I had my spooky book month kind of, but I wasn't able to finish it in October. So yeah, I continued reading it in November and so that's the first spread I am making here. I didn't fill this notebook completely by the end of the year, and so the last few spreads I am making in this video, they are on black paper. If you don't know, this is a Neapolitan notebook from Archer and Olive, and that name means that it alternates between white craft and black paper. The first and the last sections of the notebook have white paper, but since I didn't fill it completely, I ended on black paper, or actually I ended on a black and white page, but you know, details. And it was actually quite nice because my reading journal for 2023 has only white paper, so it was nice to have this end of 2022 on black paper, kind of exploring colors on black paper, all of that, because that is the best part about having this notebook is the different backgrounds and, you know, challenging myself to use different kinds of colors on different colored backgrounds instead of only white paper. So I really enjoyed that. That's been a really great part of 2022, having this notebook and exploring all the different colors and color combinations. I will miss it a little bit in 2023, but at the same time, it's also kind of nice to not have to challenge myself every time. But yeah, we will see. I will get back to you later in 2023 on whether I want to pick up another notebook with colored paper for a future reading journal. Anyway, for decoration in the spread, I am using my own stickers actually. These are the Ghost Cat stickers that I made for my patrons for October. So all of the patrons on the top 2 tiers on my Patreon, they got these stickers in the mail. There was a sticker sheet and then also a vinyl sticker, and a bonus sticker was like the vinyl sticker design on a sticker sheet, which was the first big sticker that you saw me put down on this page. The ghost cats are just really cute. I'm happy that I got to use them in the spread. If you are part of my Patreon, you actually have access to a secret shop, which is where I put sticker sheets and vinyl stickers from previous months, like previous Happy Mails on Patreon, if that makes sense. So it doesn't matter which tier you are. If you are a patron, you have access. So if you want the ghost cats, you can still get them. They are not gone forever. You might recognize the ghost cats from my October plan with me in my bullet journal. The big sticker is also the same design that I drew for my cover page for October in my bullet journal. Of course, I didn't only use stickers for the spread, I also decorated with the washi tapes from the Falling Stars washi tape set from Notebook Therapy. If you ever want to make a purchase from Notebook Therapy, you get 10% off with my code mochibujo10. The colored purple paper is actually also from Notebook Therapy. It was part of their Enchanted Garden scrapbook paper pack, so that's where that's from. And then the ripped book pages, I think I used just pages out of a book here. I also have some paper from Paper Monogatari, which is Journal Away's stationery shop, because she has some washi paper that is like, it looks like a book page basically. So I use those interchangeably all the time. I really like them. And the white pen that I am writing with is a Sakura Jelly Roll. This one should be the size 10, I think. That's pretty much it for the decoration. As for the book, I actually really liked it. I know it's considered one of Stephen King's scariest books. It's written in the 80s, I think, and it's set in the 80s as well. And it just has like the eeriest atmosphere. I tried watching the movie, like the new movie, not the old one that came out in the 90s, but the new one that came out like a couple of years ago, and it was really bad. I really didn't like it. They changed a lot of the story too. Yeah, not a fan. The book was great. The book was really scary. It was kind of gory too, and the ending was just chef's kiss. It was so scary, and it just like, oh, you know, stuff is gonna go down after the story is over, and I actually really like that. Usually I'm not a big fan of open endings, but this one was really good. So I enjoyed it. I might have to watch the 90s movie as well, because it has to be better than the new one. I don't think it was made for people who hadn't read the book, because everyone I watched it with who hadn't read the book were like, what is going on? Like there's no red thread here. Like what is actually happening? But yeah, I really enjoyed the book. It was really scary. I did leave it in Japan because I didn't want to, fill up my suitcase with books. So sadly I don't have it anymore, but maybe I can get it on my new Kindle if I want to read it again. A Kindle was the one thing I really wanted for Christmas this year, and I was really lucky I got one. So now I am the proud owner of a Kindle. I'm gonna read more than ever. I was really missing having something like that while I was traveling last year. So yeah, I'm really excited to read on my Kindle. I've already started, of course, and you'll hear all about it in my January reads video. But yeah, here are some clips of me enjoying my time in Japan in between making spreads in my reading journal. November is such a great month to be in Japan because the forests are so beautiful. The next book I read in November is Babel or Babel by R.F. Kuang. This one I have actually wanted to read for a while. This is the most dark academia novel I have ever read. I think it's been a few years since I read The Poppy Wars by R.F. Kuang, which was her first series, I think. It was like a 3-book series, like fantasy, and it was set in China, and it's one of the series that got me back into reading fantasy after being in university and only reading for school for such a long time, so many years. So I did have high expectations to this book, even though I didn't necessarily know what it was about, because I don't read blurbs and I don't read what books are about before I read them. But I was not disappointed. I've heard or read different reviews of this book. Like some people really like it, some people don't like it, but I am careful not to read reviews before I've read a book, so I can't influence how I feel about the book until after. But this was a really good one for me. So it is fantasy, but it is set in our world, kind of. So it's a lot of the things that are happening in the book is happening in Oxford in England, and also in London, and also some in China. It's about so much more than magic, you know, like magic has a very small part to play in this book. It's kind of just another resource, I guess. And what the book is really about is like racism, colonialism, exploitation. It's about privilege or lack of privilege, and I think that it was a really, I don't want to say eye-opening, because I know that like all of the issues in this book, like they are happening in the real world. Like this is not fantasy. Like the stuff that is happening in this book is not fantasy. It's just that the magic part of it is fantasy, but the magic might as well be a different skill or a different resource, like gold, you know? I can definitely tell that this is a Kuang book because it has her signature. She really like shoves things in your face, like all the injustices. This is a book with a moral, like it has teaching moments, definitely. I really like that. It is also entertaining, and it has, I guess, what has kind of become a signature move for Kuang, like in my mind, and it is this like imperfect protagonist, and the protagonist being corrupted and kind of going to the extremes for what they believe in. But that's kind of what this book is all about. I mean, it's in the title. It's called The Necessity of Violence. I really like that even the title shows that this book is about academics. So the whole novel is actually titled like you would title a scientific article. And I think that was a really clever move, and it also builds this like dark academia feeling that I have of this book. Really one of the best books I read this year, I think. I can definitely recommend it. Kuang has definitely become one of my favorite authors in recent years, and I'm really excited to read more from her. So to kind of complement the book, I tried to keep two kind of darker colors in the spread. The black and gray butterflies were gifted to me by one of you guys, actually, in a pen pal letter. And the same goes for the kind of space moon-ish stickers, like the big rectangles. The washi tapes are from Notebook Therapy. Again, this is from the Constellations washi tape set mostly. It's sold out right now, but maybe it will come back in stock. And then the ribbon stickers, or like the bow stickers, those are from Leela Journals. I really like them. They kind of gave the spread a little soft touch, which it kind of needed, I think. So it was a nice compliment to all of the dark colors. And then I used some scrapbooking paper and ripped out pages from books again, because that is my favorite thing to fill my reading journal with, and it is very fitting as well. So it goes with any color really, and yeah, I really enjoy ripping out book pages. It might sound bad, but I only rip out paper from old books that I won't read, stuff that I get at the thrift store mostly, and then you guys send me books in different languages, or pages from the books in different languages now and then, and I really appreciate that. That is really fun. I wrote with my white Jelly Roll pen again in the spread because it is the white pen that shows up the best, I think, especially when writing. This is the best pen that I have found. I know that people have different preferences, but yeah, this is my favorite. Let me know in the comments if you have read Babel and what you thought of it. I think that this would be a really good book for a book club, or for, you know, a school class or university class or something. There's a lot to discuss in this book. So yeah, that's kind of why I would recommend it, because it makes you think about things, you know? The next book, I guess, that I read, I didn't actually make a spread for because I picked up a manga actually while in Japan. So we were going to Fujikyu Highland and I just needed something to read on the bus. So I picked up Yashahime, which is like the new Inuyasha manga. It's not drawn by the same author, but the story is by the same author or artist. And I had to pick it up because Inuyasha is one of my all-time favorite mangas, but I didn't make a spread in my reading journal for it, so I wonder if I should. I don't know, what do you think? And then the next book that I picked up was one that I have put off for a long time because I wasn't sure if I wanted to start the series. It's Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I've read both Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses now, and this is her third and ongoing series, and I was a little bit hesitant to whether or not I should pick it up already because I don't like starting series that aren't finished because it's so annoying having to wait a long time in between books, and so far only 2 books have come out in this series, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a long one. But in the end, I was stumbling on so many spoilers and so much content and fan art online. Just me scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, there's just it's all Sarah J. Maas content for me. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna jump into it and I'm gonna be part of the community. I won't have to worry about spoilers anymore. I can safely read people's theories, although I often disagree with people's theories. I feel like people read too much into things sometimes, but it is Sarah J. Maas and she's known to throw some curveballs here and there, so Anyway, I started reading Crescent City so that I could be part of everyone's anticipation of the third book in this series and the continuation of the story and not have to worry about spoilers anymore. I was peer pressured into reading this book, actually. I did listen to the audiobook for this one because it's a huge book and I knew I wouldn't be able to bring it with me back to Norway from Japan. So yeah, I thought it would just be better to have it as an audiobook and not have to worry about waste or giving it away, throwing it away, which would be blasphemy. You can't throw away this book. So that's why I listened to the audiobook and I quite enjoyed it. But there's one thing I didn't like about the audiobook, and that is the woman reading it, she also read Throne of Glass. So I kept hearing Aelin when I was reading it, and that was a little bit confusing. I think that maybe they should have gone with a different person to read this book since it's a different story, but that's just me. The first book in the series is called House of Earth and Blood, and it is fantasy, definitely fantasy. We're in a different world from our own, and there are fae, there are vampires, there are all kinds of creatures. It is a really exciting world, and there's a lot of world building in this first book, as you would expect from a fantasy book. And what's different in this book from Maas's other books is that this is set in a modern world. There is technology, people wear leather jackets and do drugs, and it's not medieval kind of. So that is a fun and interesting part about this book. I will definitely say this is an adult book. It is not for children or young adults. Well, young adults maybe, I don't know, it depends. But there's a lot of spice in this book. It is definitely spicy. I wasn't sure what to expect, but if you read A Court of Silver Flames, this is pretty similar to that, I would say. So for decoration, I am using some washi tape that was gifted to me by Pen Pals, and these blue butterfly stickers that were also gifted to me. And then I'm using the Astrology Witch bundle from my own shop. So these are my own stickers that I drew. I just thought that, it would be fun to do this blue theme, witchy theme for this book, even though when I look at the book cover, it's all red and then the second book is more blue, but who cares? Just like Sarah J. Maas's previous series, this book is like an onion. You peel away layers and layers. There are plot twists, there are truths that turn out to not be true, and it's so exciting and you never know what's gonna happen. Although I will say there was one thing in this book that I kind of saw coming from a mile away, but I won't say what it is because, I don't want to spoil anything, and I don't want you to experience what I experienced, where I was like, I kind of felt a bit forced to start reading this to avoid spoilers. So yeah, no spoilers in this video, but all in all, I'm happy I read it. It's nice to finally be on the inside of the club, I also read the second book in December, so I am all caught up on Sarah J. Maas. And yeah, I am excited for the third book to come out in 2023. Maybe, hopefully. I guess it's what everyone is hoping for, so we will see what happens. I actually quite appreciate that the book is as long as it is, because I feel like she could have easily made it shorter, like cut down some things. A lot happens in this first book. And I actually really like that it was a little bit slow in the beginning. At least I felt like it was a little bit slow in the beginning, and then like so much happens at the end. But it was nice. There are a lot of characters to introduce and to get to know, so I didn't really mind. And I also really like Maas's writing, so I don't really mind spending the time reading this book or listening to it, in my case, since I listened to the audiobook. So I was able to completely immerse myself in this world, and it was a really enjoyable experience for me. I have actually found out that one of my friends also reads Sarah J. Maas, or like she's read Throne of Glass and ACOTAR, and I'm just waiting for her to pick up this one, because it's nice to be able to talk to someone like in real life about the books that you read, and not that many people that I know like in real life reads fantasy, so yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended my November. This took a while to get through because it is like 700, 800 pages in paper format. So the audiobook was like 27 hours or something. Although I do listen at like 1.2x speed, because I often feel like people who read audiobooks, they read a bit slower than I would like to listen to, if that makes sense. And if you speed it up too much, then it sounds really weird. But at 1.1 or 1.2, that's like the sweet spot for me, is what I've figured out after listening to a lot of Audible audiobooks. So yeah, that was it. And then the next thing I needed to do was to set up my cover page for December in my reading journal. And I already knew at this point that I would not read very much in December because of things that were happening in our life. Like we had some health scares with Jordan. I was spending some time in the hospital, and we were like getting ready to leave, and I would go back to Norway, he would go to Utah, because we didn't celebrate Christmas together this year, which was quite strange. It's like the first time in a while that we haven't celebrated Christmas together, but it's just how it is sometimes. So yeah, I made this cover page with the intention of reading 1, maybe 2 books in December. And I calculated that really well, actually, because I just barely finished 2 books, or I finished the second book on like January 1st, but still. For decoration on this final cover page in my reading journal, I used some of my own stickers again. So the bunny sticker is the vinyl sticker for December for my patrons. Again, this can be found in the secret shop on ikigaipapier.com if you are a patron. And if you're not a patron, I'm sorry, you won't be able to get the bunny sticker. The square stickers are part of my Year of the Rabbit sticker bundle over in my shop. And to kind of complement the Year of the Rabbit stickers, I used some of the Tori washi tape from Notebook Therapy. It's one of their newer sets, and it has like reds and blues and beige, and I stayed away from the blue, but I used the red and the beige, and I think it went with the bunnies really well because they're also like white and beige, so the colors worked out perfectly, actually. The little frames where I am going to write the names or the titles of the books that I'm reading in December, I bought those in Japan, actually. I bought them at Loft or Tokyo Hands, I can't quite remember right now. but they came in a pack with a bunch of different frames, and they're really pretty and they're really easy to write on. That's the most important thing when buying kind of label stickers like this, is that you can actually write on them, because if they're too glossy you can't write on them and then they're kind of useless. So yeah, I'm really happy with them. I think they look really nice on the spread as well, because they have some gold and red details on them, although that might be a little bit hard to see since it's not zoomed in at the moment. I used some small stickers and also my white jelly roll pen to make some final details on the spread, and I actually really like how it turned out. I think it looks so nice on the black background, and for the last cover page of this journal, it couldn't be more fitting, I think. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I didn't have very much time to read before leaving Japan in the middle of December, but I did read one book before I left, and that was Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But I didn't actually make a spread for it until after I came back to Norway. Really, I didn't make a spread for it until early January. So I think it was like at least 2 or 3 weeks in between finishing the book and starting on the spread, which was quite a long time. I don't like taking that much time in between finishing a book and making a spread, but it's just how it worked out this time because of the traveling and then Christmas happening and going to the cabin with my family, which was wonderful, by the way. And actually in my reading journal, this is the final spread. I decided to make the spread for the last book I read before this one. So that's why this page has one black and one white page, because it's like right in between the black and the white signature. And then the last spread you'll see in this video has just black paper, because I actually made that spread first before this one. So they're just switched around, but this is the book that I read first in December. I kept the decorations really simple in the spread. I'm mostly using washi tape from Notebook Therapy's Vintage Rose Volume 2 washi tape set. It has like really pretty deep reds and browns and beige and stuff. So I just wanted to make a spread with all of those washi tapes, and then I used some paper from old books again. Also used some stickers that I got in Japan, like the kind of paper sticker that's like in the top left corner. And I'll be honest, I don't love the result of this one, but I don't know, it's fine. It was a challenge. It's always a challenge to make spreads on pages that are like half black and half white, because you have to worry about both backgrounds and what will look nice on both backgrounds. But yeah, it's fine. I did decide to do the title like across both pages. So on the black page I wrote in white, and then on the white page I wrote in blue, because there is some dark blue in the Vintage Rose washi tape set. So I thought it would be fun to like pull up that blue again in the title. And I also wrote with a dark blue gel pen for the rest of the spread on the white page. So yeah, it was kind of just a little interesting thing that I thought would make the spread come more together instead of just using black like I normally would. Now about the book, I'll be honest, I had quite high expectations and they weren't really met. This is the second Jules Verne book that I read this year, and I don't know, they were kind of the same, like same types of characters, same type of adventure. I mean, I did enjoy the adventure and the exploration and like all of that good stuff that Jules Verne always writes about, but I felt like there was like no difference at all. There were just like, it could have been the same characters, like the same people. They were just from different countries. So like it was enjoyable, but not the best, you know, for me, that is. I can recognize that it's a super creative book and the adventure is exciting and the exploration is exciting, and I did enjoy those things, but as a whole, the book didn't really do it for me. Luckily for me, it's not a very long book, so although I struggled a little bit to get through it, it wasn't terrible, so I can't really complain. And then the next book I read, I was planning on listening to on the plane from Japan to Norway because I had a really long flight, but I forgot to download it and it was a disaster. I was really sad about it, but it meant that I got to enjoy it over Christmas while I was at the cabin with my family. And the very last book that I read in 2022 was House of Sky and Breath, which is the second Crescent City book by Sarah J. Maas. One of the things that I was really looking forward to with going back to Oslo was a lot of mail that would be waiting for me. And one of those was a big package from Marigona Suli Art that she sent over. She's been so nice to me, spoiling me with her new stickers and art prints and washi tapes, not to mention. And I feel really lucky, so thank you so much for sending those over. And I really wanted to use some of these in my reading journal, and I thought that this would be a fun theme for this final spread. It is kind of vampire themed, but there are wings and stuff, and I thought that that kind of fit House of Sky and Breath quite well, although I am not in the habit of theming my reading journal spreads after the books. Sometimes it is fun when you have something that feels very fitting, you know? So I'm not completely against it. It is also part of the reason why I switched these spreads around, because I really wanted to do this theme, but I felt like it fit better on just black paper than on black and white paper, if that makes sense. So yeah, you know, it's my journal, so I can switch things up if I want to. And if I hadn't told you, you wouldn't really have known if I'd read this one first and then 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but you know, I thought I'd let you know anyway. So yeah, this spread is for Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath. I don't know if I like the name Crescent City. Like, I don't know if it feels fitting for the story, but that's also kind of a spoiler, so just forget that I said anything about that. So yeah, House of Sky and Breath is the second book, and there are several houses in this story, so I'm wondering if all of the books will be named after a house. Maybe, probably. It does kind of fit Sarah J. Maas's history of naming at least the ACOTAR books. Maybe not so much the Throne of Glass series. How do I feel about this book? I really enjoyed it. I think I like it more than the first book, and that's not so surprising to me, because when I read the Throne of Glass series, and I know I'm going to be comparing a lot, but that's because I basically read Throne of Glass at the beginning of 2022, and then I reread the ACOTAR series in the spring, because I wanted Jordan to read them as well, so we were like reading them to each other and listening to the audiobook and just kind of switching it up like that. So I reread the ACOTAR books, and then now I am reading Crescent City. So I basically read everything by Sarah J. Maas this year, and so I just can't help but comparing the books to one another, which might not be a good thing, but it's just kind of how my brain works right now, because I just read everything basically. So yeah, like I was gonna say, when I read Throne of Glass and also when I read ACOTAR, I always liked the later books more. Like, yeah, the first books are good, but in ACOTAR, the second book is my favorite, which, you know, it's a lot of people's favorite book, but yeah. And in Throne of Glass, I also like the later books more. I even think that like Tower of Dawn is like one of my favorites in Throne of Glass, which is completely opposite of a lot of people. So I wasn't really surprised that I liked the second book of Crescent City more than the first one. But that's not to say I didn't like the first one, because I did, but there are things in the second one that I like more, and I do like that we get to know certain characters a lot better. There's just like a lot more dimension to a lot of the characters that you maybe didn't see so much of in the first one. I think also more of the layers of the onion are getting peeled off in this book, and you're kind of starting to see a bigger picture. Although, knowing Sarah J. Maas, what I think is going on is probably not what's going on, because there's always like another layer, another secret, another misconception or lie that will be revealed in a grand fashion at a later time. So yeah, you just never know what you're gonna get. What I knew from like before I started reading this was that there was quite a big cliffhanger at the end of this book, and a lot of people were saying that like I shouldn't start reading it yet because the cliffhanger was like so bad. But to be honest, I liked it. I don't think it was that bad. I thought it was really exciting and really promising, and I really liked the ending, so I don't know. If you have also read this book, then let me know in the comments what you thought of the ending, but be sure not to spoil anything for those who haven't read it yet. And that's it. That's all the books that I read in November and December. So here is a little flip through of all of the spreads that I made, all the books that I read. I feel like it's been a good reading year for me. According to Goodreads, which I know it might not be 100% accurate, but according to Goodreads, I read 40 books this year. My goal was 50, so you know, I'm not that far off, and it's all good. I don't really mind that I didn't reach that goal because it was kind of just a tentative goal and not really that important. And for 2023 I set my Goodreads goal to 40 books, so if I keep up the same pace, then I guess I will make it in 2023. I think that one of the most important things that happened in 2022 was that I was really enjoying reading books, and I wasn't stressing about like reading more books than I could manage, because you know, life happens, we don't have time for the same things, and like I have lots of hobbies and I can't like read all the time. And so I'm really proud that I've been able to read between 2 and 4 books every month for the whole year. Like that's a lot for me. Some people will think that 2 to 4 books a month is very little because that's what they read in like 1 week or less. And some people will think that it's a lot because maybe they can read 1, tops 2 books a month or even less. And you know, that's fine, because it's all about how much time you want to allocate to one hobby. And for me, this is like a nice compromise, I guess, like the time I spend on reading versus the time I spend on other hobbies. And yeah, it's what I have time for and how much time I want to spend on reading versus other things in my life. If you want to see a complete flip through of my reading journal and some more stats and stuff of what I read in 2022, let me know in the comments. Once again, I want to thank Skillshare so much for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. And to each and every one of you who have watched this video all the way to the end, thank you so much. Happy 2023. I hope that your year will be wonderful and that you will have lots of joy from reading, journaling, just being creative, or watching shows or reading manga or whatever, you know, whatever you enjoy doing on your spare time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!